This is the Zhiyun Crane M3. It's probably the smallest gimbal I've ever used. It actually fits into a bag. This is the FX3. We're gonna put this on top of this, and I got a snow tube. That's a big hill. You can probably put two and two together what we're doing today. Walking up and down this hill is tiring. That was a better one. That was much better. Right, so we're back in the studio now, in from the cold, and I want to chat a little bit more about this thing. Just like a real hands-on user experience, things that I picked up on that I want to share with you if you're thinking about picking up the M3. First things first, let's just acknowledge how good the video actually looked and how well it handled itself going down on the tube on a pretty bumpy, steep, fast slope with the FX3 there. The video came out way better than I thought it would, so it just goes to show that it can actually function properly with something like the FX3 attached. Now you will see right here I do actually have the A7SIII attached, and it is balanced and it does work just fine. There's full clearance, there's nothing on there that rubs. I will show you one thing though, if I turn this off, it's not properly balanced. Now, if I turn it back on, you'll see that the motors make up for that. It's nearly there, but it's not all the way. So it does work with an A7SIII on there with the 24mm if you wanted it to. Now I did actually manage to get the 1635 at 16, so when the barrel is extended on there, that on with the A7SIII as well. Again, not balanced, even less balanced than this right here, but it does work. So if you really needed to, you could balance it with an A7SIII and this. I wouldn't recommend it. I would say you probably need something a little bit bigger, but if you had to have the smallest setup out there, then this will work if you really needed it to. This is the smallest gimbal that I have ever used that will balance the A7SIII and the FX3, and I don't think there is any other gimbals out there quite this small that will balance either of those cameras. Now bear in mind this handle isn't actually, this is actually a Moser handle. So the gimbal is tiny, and that will fit into pretty much any bag. Like any of the bags that I have, this will fit in there easy, folded up, no problem whatsoever. That would probably even go in a hoodie pouch, it's that small. I do quite like how the Crane M3 logo on the side there, like the M3 part, is lit up. It reminds me of when Apple used to have the little Apple logo on the back of the MacBooks. When you'd open it up, it'd light up. But that is just really nicely done. It's a nice touch on there, and it just adds like a sense of premium to this gimbal. It's a nice feature. I like it. Now obviously this comes with all the features that you'd expect with any gimbal nowadays: POV mode, vortex mode, pan follow mode, like all those regular things you expect with a gimbal now, you get in this. The little screen on there is actually pretty useful, and it's all touch screen. It just allows you to go in and view the settings. You can change the mode just with a tap on there, and you can actually see how the balance is. So if you just click on balance, it will actually tell you kind of live how your balance is. So if it's a little bit off, you can either correct it or you can go in and calibrate the gimbal, and it will just automatically calibrate itself, so it adjusts the settings of the motors. Would it be called the torque, I guess, or how powerful they are, so that it's the right settings for whatever setup that is you have on there. So if you're constantly changing it, changing the lenses out, going to a phone and camera, you probably want to go in and calibrate it each time. Weird little inclusion that they've got on here is, well, let's just show you. A light. There is a light on the front, and it's very bright. And if we turn off my two main lights here, 1 and 2, there we go. Right, so obviously we need to change the white balance on here, but that is at its full brightest setting. We can obviously dim it down a little bit as well, and you can change the color temperature of it too. There we go. So if you want to make it a bit cooler or a little bit warmer, you could actually do that directly on there. Yeah, I don't know what it would be useful for, but it's there if you want it. This would actually probably be the best, smoothest vlogging setup that you could get with this or the FX3 or a different camera. It's probably the smallest one that's out there. Figured I should probably throw in an example like this so you can kind of see what I mean. So this is a very usable setup. It's not that heavy by any means, and if you wanted to walk along with the A7S3 and the 24mm like I am right now with a Rode Wireless Go on top, it does work, and it's very usable, and this is how it looks when you're walking. Something I did notice, even at the highest settings, if you're doing really, really fast movements, like I'm going to show you on the screen right here, it's not able to follow. And that might just be because of the weight on here. It's not really designed to carry something big and be able to do fast movements like this. So that's something to be aware of. You're probably going to want to use a bigger gimbal for that, or a smaller camera on the gimbal. And then something else which is a little bit odd, and I've never seen anything like this before, is the way that this mounts. So to get this off, and we're gonna have to do this backwards here, you got to pull this right here, and then push in this red button, and then it slides out. And then to put it back on, you have to do the same thing. Push in that button, slide it out, clip it in, and then it will lock itself in. You can probably tell what I'm going to talk about right here. You do have to use their custom plate, and it's nothing that you can just use your own one for. It's literally a custom plate, and that's just probably to aid in keeping the size of this down. So if you like to use your own Arca Swiss plates or Manfrotto RC32, you're not going to be able to use that with the camera and then this as well, because the center of gravity is going to be too high and you're just not going to be able to balance it. So you do have to use this custom plate with your camera to mount it directly onto the gimbal. With a bigger camera, smaller camera, probably you would be able to use your own plate, but for if you want to do the biggest possible camera you can do, it's got to go directly onto that plate. You do have all of your locks on every axis there, so you can unlock it and then balance it and then lock it back up again when you want to travel with it. And that's the size of it when it's all folded up. Compared to an iPhone 13 Pro Max, it's pretty small. I'm really impressed by what they've done here. It's a good little gimbal if you're looking for the smallest gimbal out there with a lot of decent functionality and a premium build to it. Something that will carry an FX3 or an A7S III. Crane M3 is probably what you want to go for. If you're interested in this, I'll pop a link down below. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching today, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. See if I can do it in one take. This is the Zhiyun Crane. Good start, Chris. Thank you.